Hi, in this video I'm going to create the LearnerDAO class, which will include the insert method to insert a new learner into the database. In the previous video I've already established a connection to the database and I've added the driver in using the Maven pom.xml file. So if you haven't watched that already, I'll pop a link up there now just to watch that video first. So I have my LearnerDAO class here. So I'll leave in that main method. So I'm going to create a method here. It's going to be public so that I can call it from outside the class. Boolean, it's going to return true or false, so whether it's successfully inserted the learner into the database or not. And I'm going to call it InsertLearner. Now it's going to take in a learner object. I'm going to use, see, I wanted the learner class there because I spelled it wrong. There we go, learner. So the learner is in the model package, so make sure that you use control space for that so that I get the correct import there from my other package, because this is in the controller package and my learner isn't. So learner is in the model package. Now what I want to do for this, so I'm going to have a user prepared statement and I need an insert statement. What I do to make sure that my SQL code is correct before I insert it into Java code is in SQL Server Management Studio, I create an insert statement, insert into learner, the three columns that I'm inserting into. I'm ignoring the ID because it's not a number, and the values. So I've tested this out already and saw that it worked okay. And now I'm going to take a copy of the insert statement that I know that works, go back into NetBeans and just create a string for that. String SQL and double quotes and semicolon, and I'm going to paste in the insert statement that I copied. Now, so insert into learner, name, address, age, and the values. Take out the actual values there and even the single quotes around it and pop in question marks. So I'm going to supply those question marks underneath. So question mark, and 24 is the age. That will also be a question mark. Okay, it doesn't all fit in one line, just move it down. Now, so I need a prepared statement object. So prepared statement, I'm going to call this insert statement, STMT, equals to. So it's a connection that I have globally above that has a method called prepare statement. So it will create that prepared statement object for me, and I pass in the SQL string into that. Now and next, what I need to do now is specify what those three brackets will be. Now, it might not be able to create the prepared statement object, and if it can't, it will throw an SQL exception. So what I'm going to do is pop a try catch around all of that, and I suppose it would look neater if I just put the try here around the beginning and down here. So catch, if there's any issues there, it will throw an SQL exception E. So it could be an error creating the prepared statement, it could be an error trying to execute the statement, so error inserting learner. And if that happens, I want to see what's gone wrong, so just do an e.print stack trace, so I'll get a printout there of exactly what's wrong with my code, and just tap that across. And so here, insert statement dot. So that will be .set string for the first one is a name, set string. What position is it at? So this isn't zero based, those three question marks, so the first one is at 1. Now, the learner object will be passed in here, so that will be created from the GUI, from whatever the user types in the text boxes or text fields. And I retrieve the learner there from that learner object, so learner dot get name. So the name, first question mark, will be the learner's name, and it will come from the learner object that was passed in, their name. So do this twice more. Insert statement.set string as well for the address. The string is the second, with the address the second question mark. And learner.get address. And then for the age, but this time it's not a string. Insert statement, it's an int, set int. Third question mark, so 3, and the value will be learner.getAge. Okay. Now, when we have that done, what we can do next there is execute that statement. So insert statement dot execute. Now, see here it returns a Boolean. It returns a Boolean to say if it worked or not. True if the first result is a result set object, or false if it's not. Apologies, I'm not calling execute, I'm calling execute update. Execute update. Okay, that's better. It returns an int for the row count. If it worked, it will return hopefully 1. If it returns 0, it just shows that it didn't insert properly. So what I'm going to do is at the beginning of this line, I'm going to assign that returned int to a variable, and I'm going to call it numRows. NumRows equals that. NumRows. Now, so if it returned 1, that worked okay. If it didn't return 1, it didn't work. So what I'm going to do here, there's a Boolean that I want to return. So I'm going to return here, return numRows not equals 0. So what does that mean? numRows. So if numRows is not equals to 0, if that's true, that means it did successfully insert. That's a little bit tricky. numRows not equal to 0. If that's true, it worked. If numRows is 0, that makes that false, in which case it didn't work, and it will return false to the calling code. If it gets into the catch here, I'm going to return false because it didn't work. Something went wrong with either the execute or something went wrong with the prepared statement. Yeah, so that is all I'm going to pop in there. If you want to hang on, I'm just going to, in the main method, just see if this worked okay. So what I'm going to do in main here, just to test this code out, I'm going to create a learner. Learner equals new learner. I'm going to call the constructor that takes the name, address, and age. Let's just put in Pat, address, let me go with Cork, age 50, semicolon. Now, this InsertLearner is it's not a static method. I need to create an instance of the class, new LearnerDAO, call the constructor that will establish the connection. And now, .InsertLearner, and pass that learner in. Now, that will return a Boolean true or false if it worked or not. So, Boolean, give it a name. I'll call it success. I'm just going to print that out then on the next line and end. Insert successful, and just concatenate that on. Question mark and concatenate. Okay, so if I run this file, so find the file here on the right click and run file, it'll run the main, create an instance of the learner, pass it into InsertLearner, and all going well, insert successful true. So I've Pat Cork 50. I can go to the database here. I have a select here, just execute that. Pat Cork 50. Okay, so that worked. So in the next part, I will looking at connecting that code. So instead of it running here from main, to actually get the learner to insert onto the GUI, values onto the GUI, and I'll call that code then from behind the GUI. Okay.